wait for because it goes live and then Sue then puts it onto all the groups. But not in the groups though, are we?
Not yet.
Well, no.
Can you have that one if you want it? She's nicking my steak.
No, where's my steak?
I didn't buy you one.
There you go. Bless you. So if people are there, we're just waiting for Sue to go live in the groups. Good evening, Kathy. You're on mute, Sue.
Hi. I didn't realise I'm on mute as well.
Oh yeah, will you be talking, Tracy? I did mute Sue, so I don't know if she. I'll unmute Sue. You unmuted, Sue. I didn't realise I could mute you.
That's just rude. Mind you, my daughter was talking. Right.
I was going to say it's because your daughter was talking. So good evening, Jane.
Hi all. This is really weird. Hi Lee, how are you?
Hello, Keto Tracy.
Do you know each other?
Yeah, and what am I? How many miles is Lincoln from where we are?
Hello.
Ida just said like 160 miles. So yeah.
So you've got to go 160 miles away to talk to me.
Are we live, Sue? Are we there,
Hi,
Sue?
Jane. Hi.
Are we there yet, Sue?
Yeah, we're there.
We're there. Excellent.
Yeah,
so,
we're there.
With it. Okay, thank you. So, good evening, everybody, on this Wednesday, last Wednesday of November. It's nearly Christmas. So tonight we have a special guest. You can all obviously see. Gone are the days where we were bringing people in as they came in, but Lee's there. Mr. Lee Grenter. How do you say your surname? Grenter.
Grenter.
Grenter. So you literally do Grent.
Yes.
Oh,
I didn't put the name I also go by according to my wife on here. So,
so for those who don't know, Lee is Tracy's husband, and Lee has come on today to be our special guest because unlike well, not unlike a lot of people, that sounds weird, but unlike most people within our group, Lee has joined doing keto low carb because of Tracy, but it has really helped him. Sorry, I've just seen what Kathy's written. It's really helped him with his type 1 diabetes, which he will be talking about in a minute. And I think we need to just say before we start, Tracy is how many 160 miles away from Lee?
No, it's 216. We just
googled 216 miles away.
Ira googled it. 216 miles.
Wow. So Tracy is at one of our other lovely members' houses, Ira, in Lincoln, and she met up with Sue today. I believe Sue picked her up from the station. And so they're really far away. And so that's why we're able to get both of them on screens. And we chose to have today for Lee. But the other elephant in the room that we do have to focus on is in the comments, Kathy has put Lee's nickname. And Tracy, do you want to say who Lee is to you?
Well, he's quite commonly called by me. I shouldn't say by nobody else. By me, he's referred to as Stud Muffin because, let's be honest, we've been married, be close on coming up to 30 years. He puts up with a lot, but he's my Stud Muffin. So there we go.
And can we make a promise that's the last time we're going to call him Stud Muffin in this live?
Yes,
please.
Bless him. But no, it's very cute. And your relationship is very lovely. You do have a really good relationship. So Richard has said good evening all. So he was our guest a couple of weeks ago. And I do believe that someone might have asked him to take his top off, Lee. and show us his exercise. So I don't know if someone's going to ask you the same thing.
If it had been a week ago, I would have done it for children in need.
Right, so enough of me talking. Lee, tell us all about yourself. How did you start? Just tell us all about yourself.
Right. Well, I'm the quiet half of the relationship first, because Tracy's not here, so there's a little bit less talking, and it's nice to have a little bit of airtime myself this evening. Basically, I followed Tracy's footsteps. She needed to start keto. She's already explained in the past to a lot of people here. She needed it for a variety of reasons. And I didn't want her, about 2 years ago when she was starting this, to be doing it on her own. I didn't want her treating it as a diet and cooking her own meals to sit there while the rest of the family were eating. I didn't want that for her. Even if the children weren't at that time eating what she was eating, I wanted to support her and back her up. Problem was, I was an extremely fussy eater. I didn't like a lot of the food. Vegetables were something I'd sort of have token pea on the plate or a bit of sweet corn or something like that. That would be more or less it. So I had to change my outlook on things. When she discovered keto, she would be making a lot of things. I can't quite remember what she was making one evening I came home from work, but she was cooking something, and I said, "Do you know what? I think I'll have a bit tonight." And she went, "Okay, I'll have a taste." And I liked it, and I had it, and I haven't looked back since. I started eating the majority of the things. Yes, Tracy.
It was ratatouille, my lovely. And that's got vegetables in it.
It has.
It's all vegetables.
It's all vegetable. I know.
All vegetables.
So I started like that, eating. I was pretty healthy anyway. As been mentioned, I'm a type 1 diabetic. Don't shake your head. I'm a type 1 diabetic. I've been since I was almost 11 years old. So that's 40 years ago since I was diagnosed. And all that time, I've had to have multiple daily injections of insulin, basically to stay alive. All that time, I was told, had to have the insulin. And if you have the insulin to stay alive, you then had to have a large amount of carbohydrates to balance the insulin out. I used to be on something like 50, 60 grams of carbs for the breakfast, for about the same for lunch, and then evening meal, it could be up to 100 grams of carbs. And that's not including any snacking in between a biscuit or mid-morning break snack, anything like that, or something in front of the TV in the evening. Hospital were happy with that, my dietitian team. They said, right, you've got to have it. They expect me to be on 200 plus grams of carbs a day easily. And I didn't see anything wrong with that. When I was younger and I didn't used to eat that much, if I'd missed a snack, I'd start feeling like I was having a hypo, my blood sugars would drop. So as far as I knew, I could never do anything like the rest of the people here were doing, and especially as Tracy was doing, skipping meals. She was talking about things like OMAD, and I thought I'd never go one meal a day or skip breakfast or lunch. I couldn't do it. I'd be in the ground after a couple of days. So we carried on for a little while. Lockdown happened, and she was cooking more and more. I suddenly stopped cooking, and Tracy was doing all of the cooking all of a sudden and providing some really delicious meals.
Now that's different, wasn't it? Because before that, it was you, wasn't it?
It was. I was cooking everything, but we were living on a lot of things like casseroles, pastas, things, rice dishes. Pretty good, and all the family enjoyed those. Suddenly, she started buying all the books. She was using the free library. We found more and more things we liked. I suddenly started realizing, wow, there were cakes and desserty type things, even though I haven't got a sweet tooth, I could have. It wouldn't affect my type 1 diabetes. I wouldn't have to really dose of insulin 7 or 8 units if I wanted a piece of cake or a millionaire shortbread or something like that. So because my body was handling them in a good way. There was nothing in there, no sugars, and the sweeteners and the things in there were being slowly digested because of what they were. Then I really wanted to do more with it. I really wanted to try, but I was afraid to. I didn't know if I could. And the situation with type 1, as I've mentioned, is slightly different to a type 2, where you can control a lot of the problem with a diet if you're lucky. With me, I'm stuck. I've got to have injections. There's no way around it. They're not going to stop in my life unless I'm very lucky. How would I be able to skip meals? Didn't know. Couldn't get any advice from the hospital, or GPs are pretty useless unless you're lucky enough to have one who tends to be a diabetic themselves. Then we went to Kestival in 2021. We arrived early in the morning from the hotel, and everyone of you were setting up, and the Unwins were there, having a little chat to Mark and Ella and some of the others. And I think Tracy introduced me, said, "Oh, this is Lee, my husband. He's a type 1. And they went, type 1. And I think I had about a 20, 30-minute conversation with the pair of them before it got going that morning. And they gave me lots of pointers. They said, even though they were type 2 orientated and their studies all relate to type 2, they knew type 1s could be handled as well. And they pointed me in the direction of a colleague of theirs, Dr. Ian Lake, who's got a website, Type 1 Keto. Dr. Lake is also a type 1, and he's been a type 1 for a number of years. And they told me he was running marathons, climbing mountains, hang gliding, going OMAD, living the keto lifestyle, cut down his insulin, living his life as normal, but he was living keto, clean. I couldn't believe this. I thought, how am I going to know? How does he do this? If a professional person could tell me this could be done, I'd be happy to try. I'd give it a go there and then. I went on his Twitter, sent him a message. I think I was actually in the tent in Kestival when I did it. Joined up. I couldn't get on any of his talks he did, because he does regular talks and meetings, little group things to advise people how to handle it. I had a message back the following day, and I think we were still at Kestival, saying, "Lovely to hear from you, really interested. Would you like a chat when you're available?" And I thought, great, I'm in one of his little group sessions. A week later, we were home. I signed in, and he was sitting in his GP surgery, and it was just me and him for half an hour. And I couldn't believe that this man, who I'd never met, had only texted, wanted to put time aside to give me some advice. So we had a good long chat, and he was absolutely brilliant, and he opened my eyes. And I've said, no, I'm not the religious one of my partnership with my wife. She's a religious one, but I call it my road to Damascus moment. I had an epiphany. I became born again for keto. Is the equivalent of someone having cigarettes for years and throwing them out and suddenly wanting to tell everyone.
I love that. Born again keto. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He advised me. He said, "You can do it. This is how to do it. It's not insane. You don't have to change anything. Whereas you've been having carbs all this time to balance your insulin, you need to understand that protein also acts on your insulin." And I'd never been told this. He said, whenever you're having a protein-rich dish and you've been counting the carbs for it, have you been out with your blood glucose? And I said, well, yeah, occasionally I am. I've had something with fish in it or meat, and it's still been, I've accounted for the carbs, but I've still been up afterwards. He said, you haven't accounted for the protein. So he told me to take it as 20 grams of protein equated to 10 grams of carbs, which at the time for me, 10 grams of carbs was the equivalent of 1 unit of my insulin for a meal. So I just had to work like that. So if I was having any of the keto recipes, which I've all got in the books and on the website, the macros, they tell you the breakdowns. And as Tracy will probably tell a lot of you, whenever we have a new recipe or a new meal now delivered, I quickly say, where's the macro card? Let me have a check. What's it going to be? And I'm suddenly finding all this food which I thought might have been free because it's saying carb is negligible on what we're eating now as a protein amount. If I account for the protein amount to my insulin's got something to work on, and I'm fine. As soon as I'd had this long talk with him, I started the next day. I missed breakfast, and I haven't looked back since. I found whilst doing it on protein, suddenly my blood sugars are level. I'm not, as before, they used to call it a roller coaster ride over a day. They say being a type 1 is like balancing a marble on a metal ball bearing on top of a mirror. It's impossible. It skids it's a hard time keeping it level and steady. Suddenly I'm getting steady and I'm not even doing anything. I'm not starving myself. I'm not feeling hungry. I'm eating differently. I'm not dieting, but suddenly my blood sugar, instead of having breakfast or lunch and going up, and then the insulin affects it and it's coming down, and then I've got to eat something to bring it back up again. So it's constantly going like this all day. Suddenly it's going like this and like that through the day. And that's solely because I've cut the carbs, sorry, down to hardly anything. And I've upped my protein intake. Now, whereas before I probably have in a day 30 units of insulin, 40 units of insulin, plus my background, which had to keep me alive over 24 hours as well. Now, my insulin intake for food yesterday was 8.3 units. And that's like less than a third of what I was on. I'm having more background insulin to keep me alive through the day than I am for eating, but I'm eating more as well.
That's mad.
Can I ask
Yeah.
what's background insulin?
Right. When you're a type 1, you have two types of insulin if you're on injections. They call it multiple daily injections, MDI. What you do, you have one type of insulin, a fast-acting one, and you have that about 15 to 20 minutes before every time you're going to eat something. You inject that, you work out what you're going to have, inject it, wait a little bit, then you can eat, and that starts working. Then it's got time to get into your system to start working on the food you're going to ingest. So if you have something very carby, say pizza, rice, pasta, it's hard to do it because that insulin isn't going to keep, that fast acting isn't going to keep working on it for a long time. That's going to sit in your body a long time. So you end up getting highs later on in the day. The background insulin is called your basal rate. And for me, on most type 1s, you have a second type of insulin, a different version, which wouldn't be affected by your food, but it gives you your level rate through the day. And that would, I was having 22 units. I'd take it about 10 o'clock at night, and that'd be a slow acting insulin, would just sit in your system, and it'd last over 24 hours. So that would give my baseline. And then the fast acting, if you have a baseline there, the fast acting would work around that for anything you eat. Okay. Now I'm on a pump. Now I've got a little pump stuck to me now, and I've started that since I've been low carb and keto. And my blood control is even better now because of eating proteins, eating less carbs. They cannot understand in the hospital how I'm having no problems switching to a pump. I switched in August. They told me it would be 3 or 4 months of hell trying to balance myself out again after 40 years almost of injecting. And in fact, it made it easier. Suddenly, I can have little drips of insulin and I don't have to give myself a background dose. It drip feeds me 0.12 of a unit every hour. So I've got that dripping in. I can adjust it. So if I'm having something which is going to be more slow to digest, I can have the dose last longer. So instead of it giving me all in 2.5 minutes, I can have it inject me over about 4 hours as well. So if you're at a party and you're eating lots of protein and you're constantly grazing on things, I don't have to think, oh, I've eaten something else quick. I have to adjust this, give some more insulin. It's ticking a bit more over in the background. But going back to, no, sorry, Sue, go on. But going back to what happened next was. Yeah.
Oh,
sorry.
So when you explain to the hospital what you're actually doing, are they not intrigued and think, oh, can we look into this a bit more?
Dr. Lake said,
like, nah, you're lying, you're lying.
Dr. Lake said to me in the conversation, he said, right, whatever you do, when you go for your first appointment after starting this, don't say keto. He said, just say to them, I've changed the way I'm eating. I'm eating more green leafy vegetables, more red meat, more fish. Say that. He said, that's what they want to hear. He said they don't really mind about what else. And the data then you're providing, because I have that on my arm that's constantly feeding to the hospital. So they know what's happening to me from day to day. I can't lie. When I
Can
go
you
in,
explain to people what that is, Lee?
that is a Libra Freestyle 2, and it monitors my blood glucose levels. It does. And you just scan it with your phone or with a little handset. And when it scans, it also, for me, uploads to the hospital database for my hospital team. So when I go for my appointments, they just tap my details in. They can see all pretty graphs showing how I've been over the last 3 or 4 months. So basically, and that's, I've changed that. That goes on every 2 weeks. And I put it on one arm, then I swap it to the other arm. And it's a little disc. It is. It's got a little plastic needle in the back, and it doesn't hurt. And it's that was a game changer. Before that, I was pricking fingers, doing bloods and things like that. This is easy now. You just hold your phone up and you scan like in Tesco's, and you're gone.
I think you created a bit of a craze with them at one stage, where a lot of people were getting them from the website. And I must admit, I've
think
still
I had
got one
about 4 or
upstairs
5 in
actually.
there.
Yeah,
I'm
Have you still got it?
us type ones are lucky we get them for nothing.
I know. Yeah,
They
exactly.
do cost a lot of money, and there's a new one coming out next year, which you won't even have to scan. It'll constantly talk to your phone and things as well. So that'll be quite good.
It's all
So
very
hopefully
clever.
I'll get one of them.
So, for people that don't know, when you were saying you were sort of having a bit of a roller coaster with your bloods going up and down, what effect does that have on you when it is up and when it is down? What happens?
Well,
Tracy's face.
I can see Tracy's having a grin there, so I can't really lie because she's when it would be up and down a lot, it would affect mood. It would seriously affect mood. It'd affect my well-being. I'm sure it affected her well-being as well. Quite a few worries. I did have a few crashes over the years where my blood sugars completely collapsed for no reason. I was ill at one time a few years back, and they had to have paramedics and things. I can't remember 2 hours, but that's by the by. But since I become keto, I'm not having that because it's a lot more level. I'm not having it go up and then the inevitable straight down again off the other side. Well, it comes down, but it's a very gradual come down. It is, and it gives you plenty of time. You're not constantly falling off cliffs off that roller coaster. So it did affect my moods. I didn't think I was overweight until I lost the weight I had. I didn't. I thought age. I was quite active. I'm a primary school teacher. I work with young children. I run around all day with them. I'm constantly doing PE. I'm doing movement. I'm in the yard. I'm leaping around. I leap around more than the staff we got who were in their 30s and 20s. But now I've done this. I've been on this journey, as you all keep describing it as. After I started this and doing it properly on the advice, now I knew I could do it. I knew it wasn't going to hurt me. I knew it's possible. Type 1s, I'm going to say something horrible, are being lied to in some ways about not being able to do it. And I am a rarity because you don't tend to see many type 1s in our group. I wish there'd be more. And I do, whenever I hear of someone being a type 1, I go, go on, you've got to do this, try it. But I also say they've got to have the advice as well. The shame is you don't get advice the majority of the time from your hospital. Saying that, the last hospital appointment I had for my pump clinic, now I'm on the pump, she couldn't get over it. My doctor, she said, you're eating completely different to the majority of my patients. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. It's working for you. She said, and she said, don't you feel hungry? No. Don't you miss the food? No. Do you find it hard to eat if you're going anywhere? No.
And have you told them it's keto yet?
Yes, they now know it's
Yeah.
keto. They now know.
Good.
And last time I had a dietitian as well, and she seemed quite keen on the idea of it as well. She did want to know the ins and outs. They keep asking me, how do you balance your insulin? What are you doing with your insulin to carb ratio? Because the meters we've got for my pump and for injection, they don't count protein, they only count carbs. You can't put protein into them. It just says carbs. So I've still got to put it in as carbs, even though I know it's protein. So I've got to do the maths and swap them around. So they see I'm having carbs. I say, well, on that, if it says carbs and I've had today 18 grams of carbs for my lunch, it'll say that was actually more like 18 or 20 grams of protein, which equated to 1 unit of my insulin. So I can account for it. And they say, well, how do you know? I say, well, I talked to a professional named Dr. Ian Lake, have any of you heard? And nowadays, the last year or so, they go, oh yeah, we know of him. So word is getting out. And they can see I know what I'm talking about. I think the fear is people are going to try something, dive in and experiment and not take account of the problems they could have. I'm very good at reading about everything first. Tracy will tell you I can be a bit pedantic about it. I can look everything up and want to know it all first before I dive in. And that's what I wanted to do before I started the keto lifestyle. And it has made a big difference. The weight fell off me at the start of lockdown. I was 16.5 stone. I didn't feel it. I'm 6'1", but it was all over my body. Within about a few months of starting to do this correctly, I'd lost weight when Tracy changed the way I was eating at home. But as the weight started to come off me, I think I went down to about 14 stone, and I was quite happy. I thought, great, 14 stone, hooray! Suddenly going low carb. Over a few months, it wasn't overnight, which I'm happy about because that would have got the alarm bells ringing. I think it took 4 or 5 months. Suddenly, I'm down to 13 stone. Then now, I'm stable. I'm 12 stone 3, and I've been 12 stone 3 probably since about June. So I bet I wasn't
Look at
overweight.
Tracy's face.
No.
I'm sure she's very pleased for you.
No, she's probably thinking in her mind, you men have it easy. You lose
Well,
weight.
I was thinking that, if I'm honest, because I think you do. I think men do tend to have it, and that's a whole nother
and I will say, I haven't struggled, and that it sounds horrible saying, because so many members here find it difficult to keep doing what you're doing. And I have found it easy, but it's fitted in with my lifestyle, my work lifestyle, my home lifestyle, my health lifestyle. It's just all slotted together so well for us and for me.
And I think like you just said, for us, and I think for some that is it for a lot of people when they're sort of cooking for themselves, doing this, their husbands doing this, their children are doing that, and it is difficult. And I think what is lovely is how you as a family have just taken to it, and you're doing it together, and it is really, really nice. Lee, I want to ask you something. So we were having a quick chat before we went live, and you mentioned something about the diet that you were having before, and basically being that healthy plate that we all get taught at school. You as a teacher, have you had that situation where you've had to talk about healthy living, and everything? How do you feel about that?
We had to teach a healthy plate. I think we just come back into school properly from lockdowns with children, and we were doing healthy eating because all the children suddenly came back like that. They did. It was an absolute nightmare of all the McDonald's and KFCs and takeaways in our area. Now, we had children who we hadn't seen for 4 or 5 months, who'd been like sticks, suddenly had an obesity problem. So we decided we were going to do healthy plate, as you do, as is pushed by all authorities. We were doing it one day, and we were talking about food groups. And the other teacher I work with as well, she looked at me because she was doing the spiel about it, and she suddenly realized she was getting herself into a knot because we've been talking about cutting down on carbs and healthy this and sugars. And suddenly on the healthy plate, we had the carbs, we had sugars, we had fats. So how she said, you can see the penny drop with her all of a sudden. How can we say this is healthy when it's got this, and this on? And then I went into my bit then, because I'd been doing a little bit of work with public health collaboration about it. And I talked to them another Festival 2021 chat when I was talking to them about the evils of the healthy plate. And about how it was designed by companies, basically, and supermarkets. Not, I don't think they had people's best interests at heart. It is a matter of selling things, but it's a sort of thing now that needs really to be reevaluated. And I think over the next couple of years, it is going to be reevaluated, because we do see we've got to talk about it differently in schools, because they say, well, the children say, well, it's got sugar, it's got fatty this, carbs. You're saying we can't have chips and things, got potatoes, but there. So why? And you see staff members now suddenly going, I don't know. So at least I've got a bit of knowledge now from here, from PHC, from online. Now I know how it all works a lot better. Before I was taking it very much at face value, and it does make a huge difference. And we've had children in school the last couple of years who have been type 1s as I am, and they've been younger diagnosed and on injections than I have, and they have all sorts of problems because their parents can't help them with what food they're eating, and they're on that roller coaster again, up and down, and their blood sugar control is a million times worse than I've ever been in my life. And that's scary because they're eating wrongly. I wish there was education for health professionals now that this could work. I mean, all data from everywhere with type 1s is showing it's working. And type 2s, it's showing it's working, definitely. For people who haven't got anything wrong, they might just have an eating disorder. It's working. So why can't it be looked at and studied? And speaking of that, I was part of a study a couple of months ago. I signed up to talk to a lovely lady who works in a university in the north of England, who's doing a paper on keto lifestyle with diabetics, type 1s and type 2s. And she wanted to know our life story. The questionnaire was very odd. She apologized to me after, because it went into, do you have a problem with your body shape? Do you have a problem with your image? Do you get depressed? It was things like that. And I said in an email to her before the meet, I said, this is wrong. I don't get any of these. Type 1s are usually pretty healthy. We don't have an image problem. We don't have a body BMI over this and thing. You wouldn't know unless we said the majority of this. And she said, sorry, it's a standard questionnaire. So we did the talk, and she wanted to know the ins and outs, much as we're doing here. And she told me that she used to be a type 1, but she'd had a pancreas transplant in South Africa a few years ago as a trial, and she was doing okay in it. And she was doing a study to show the hospital and things in the north of England that keto and low carb is a valid way of treating and supporting people with type 2 and type 1 diabetics. So she's got another 2 years to run on this yet. She's gathering all the data and talking to hundreds of people across the UK in it. But so far, she'd had about 50, 60 people, and it was all pointing in the same direction. And if all of this is showing, and now you can't fudge data because of these things, it's there. You can't fake it. It's not like when I was young, we used to write numbers in little books and take them along to the hospital. If you didn't like what the number was, you could change it, or you didn't do it at all. Now it's there for everyone to see. So if this study goes well, it'll be another pointer, hopefully in the future. It'll be better for all of us, because it needs to be done. And hopefully all of us will be around to help people benefit from that.
Yeah, definitely. So I know that Tracy does a lot of the cooking now.
She does.
Yeah. What is your favourite keto dish?
Ooh,
Or
I got a
low
few.
carb dish?
I've got a few. I love the ratatouille, and it's a staple. But we do a lot of different things with it. We have it on its own with mega bread, with cheese on it. We like that for lunch if we're home. I like it with steak. I like it. I've done it with pan-fried sea bass and things like that. We've had it with chicken. So it's a go-to. I think it's a keto equivalent of a can of beans in some ways. Oh,
We should get Mark to do that. Do it in the bakery. Sell it.
Yeah. Oh, don't tell him that. He will. I love that. lately we've really enjoyed making and eating the lasagna, but with the wrap sheets. 'Cause I think that has been good. I mean, we experimented with that a
That
few
is
months
good.
ago, just
Yeah.
as everyone was starting to fiddle. I think Mark fiddled about with it a little bit about the same time we were, and we'd been trying, I think, for a couple of years, hadn't we, all, to find something which went good for layers. And we tried having cabbage leaves and bacon and slice of ham. We tried everything, and suddenly the wraps. And when you think about it, you get lots of recipes online where you can do a lasagna with a normal tortilla wraps. It's not much of a stretch to use these, and that is perfect. In fact, don't let Tracy know, but I'll probably make one for when she comes home next week on Monday. So
Oh.
that's something
You have a ninja foodie, don't you?
we do. We have a couple of
Do
them.
you have the round tray that goes in it?
Yes.
So I've been making my lasagna in that
Ooh.
because the wraps are the exact size of it.
Oh. We've got a casserole dish which is the exact size of them as well.
Oh,
So,
see, it's brilliant, isn't it? Yeah, they're perfect.
but that's an easy one to do. That is brilliant, and we've enjoyed so many things the last couple of years. We used to make every month or so the tomato sauce. We used to have pans of that going, making up a couple of tubs of that in the fridge. We used to use that as a base for courgette or fish dishes or with chicken. We just add other things to it. That was a great one. We had, what's the other things we've been having lately? We've had, well, I've enjoyed the enchiladas from Mark's from the bakery at the moment.
They're
a
nice,
good
aren't
one.
they? The enchiladas.
I'm
Yeah.
enjoying those. I had a pie tonight.
Oh, well, I was
I
literally
did.
about to say. I think you eat a whole pie tonight, didn't you?
I may have.
And
You didn't enjoy it,
they're
really,
not-
though, did you?
No, I'm gonna have to another one to check. But they look a
Yeah,
lot bigger
I
on the
would.
packet. They
I would.
do. They do.
To be fair, when I did get one, so I've been making using the pastry and making some dishes, but the actual silver foil trays that I've had from Tesco, I've realised are quite a bit bigger than the pie ones. So, yeah, I don't blame you for eating a whole one. They are very nice.
It wasn't very big, and it was very nice.
And was it just that?
Yes.
Yeah,
And
well,
that
there you go.
was an insulin for me. I think I had 1.7 units of insulin for the whole thing.
That's what I was going to ask. How much
Just
is
for the
Yeah.
protein in it.
Yeah.
But if that had been let's use a funny term for it now, a human made pie.
Yeah.
Then that would have probably been about 9 or 10 units of insulin,
Mm.
at least.
Or was it fry bentos you used to get in the in the
I've
tray?
never. Oh yeah.
It's
Oh,
not
we
that pastry.
So have you got any questions for Lee?
No, I haven't actually, because you've been
Okay,
asking
bye
them all.
Aw.
See you later.
Do you do any exercise?
Yes, I do. But when I was home with the children for a few months with Tracy, I did sort of make a promise I never kept. I was going to do a lot of the Sunday morning keep fit and the
Never
weights
saw
and
you.
everything.
I
And
never really saw
funny
you.
that, isn't it?
No.
It's the camera was there.
I was
The
gonna say,
camera
just
was
as
on.
the camera
Yeah,
off,
the
see.
camera was on.
Yeah.
But I got the resistant bands. I got some dumbbells. I've got them
Yeah,
sitting
you've
there.
got some kettlebells as well,
Yeah,
haven't you?
yeah, I got a kettlebell. I know, and
They
I will
probably
do it.
work and
But my excuse is life ran away with itself. Ethan suddenly discovered football, and every Sunday morning it's been me, the one taking him to the football. So that's been out, and with child wrangling and everything else, it's sort of stopped. But hopefully, I do plan on making a return because I did enjoy it, and I do need offset the fat with the protein for your insulin.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's gone. Sorry.
Yep.
Do you offset the fat with the protein for your insulin?
I don't do anything about the fat, but I don't have a high fat diet anyway. Basically, I just look at the proteins. I keep it simple. If there's any carb part to it, I worry about that. And if there's any...
Tracy's got something to say, I think.
I kind of got to agree to disagree with you there.
Go on, then.
So, how often do you have cheese?
But I don't think of the fat. I just look at the protein.
But you're eating cheese. How
Yeah.
often?
But my darling, I don't worry.
No
You could eat.
domestic on air,
Yeah,
please.
you could eat. I think you could easily dive down the rabbit hole of trying to analyze every part of a macro. And I
Yeah.
don't want to analyze every part macro. I don't want to try and think I'm going to have this into a spreadsheet and work out exactly how much then to the point something is going to affect my blood
Life's
sugar.
too
I don't need
short.
to work.
And I think
I
what you're doing is obviously working. So
Yeah, it's working. What I
Yeah.
started off originally with protein and minimal carbs works for me. That's what Dr. Lake said. He said if it doesn't work, come back, have a chat with me, or let me know what it's doing to you, and then I can give you further advice. For me, it works. For me, with a pump, it works even easier.
And have you kept in contact with him?
Yes. I do
Brilliant.
occasionally send him screen grabs of my blood sugars from my Libre. I do,
Brilliant.
and I get a message back saying, "Ooh, brilliant! Can I use it on my Twitter?"
Oh, that's brilliant.
But
I have put the link in here for his type 1
yeah,
keto.
he is a brilliant person, and he even said he'd love to come to the keto group sometime if anyone wanted to talk to him, something like this. He'd be up for that as well.
Brilliant. Yeah,
No,
there we go.
drop him a
Yeah.
line, and
Tracy,
he'll
get him in the books.
he'll talk to
Tracy's-
anyone. He will.
Tracy's our what do you call it? Our PA
Oh, I
for
could
getting
call her lots
people.
of things.
PA did. The PA.
Kerry's saying it's very interesting. It is,
Thank
Kerry.
you,
I
Kerry.
agree. It is
Thank you,
very
Kerry.
interesting.
I feel very unique and alone. I want more type 1s.
Well, do you know what? It's my one of my best friends is type 1, and I'm going to send her this after the recording.
And
And so watch it.
Ira's just said the same. She's got a friend and she wants to send her this for her to listen to.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, Lee, there's one thing we talk about mindset in the group and good feel factor and how we change things. And like you said about the modes and all that, but what's the biggest change that you and I were talking about this week? Because what did we get excited about when we were doing all this?
Can we keep this clean, please?
No, it wasn't that. Wasn't that? Nothing.
Sorry,
No. We were doing
What's coming up? Christmas.
Yeah, I hope it's what she means she's talking about anyway. But if I'm following her lead correctly, what we were doing, we were trying to think of what we were going to get for Christmas Day to have on the table. As we're a low carb keto household, we're still going to have nice things for the children, but how we can avoid the bread rolls, how we can avoid the sausage rolls a lot of the time. Now, different things we could have. Now, do we really want to buy the 18 boxes of chocolates and put them on the table, or chocolate biscuits? So we bought loads of cheese instead. And we've been fancying them online on one of the online TV channels for shopping.
Would you like to give the story of the cheese?
The cheese. Did you introduce us to it, Sue, by any chance?
I made myself last year, but she bought it online from the shop that's a mile down the
road.
street. And she's come to Lincoln, and I said, "You
brought it back."
But she does have to get the train.
No, I think you misunderstood, Gemma, right? I went online and ordered cheese to bring to Lincoln with me, which I could have.
Oh!
So it was sent from Lincoln to me, and I didn't even know I was buying it from Lincoln to bring it back. That was quite funny. But
it's very nice cheese.
Yeah. Last year for Christmas, because we got a big family, most people know, and it's like because we feed in everybody and we have people in the house who are non-keto, this is why, but this year it's not going to be the case. It's just us, and it's quite nice that we don't have the pressures of buying the sweet treats and the chocolates and the biscuits to satisfy our guests, because you can't be rude when you've got guests and not feed them or anything like that. You have to put a plate of food on. But I feel guilty feeding people that stuff because we know the difference it makes to us. And this is what we were saying last year. Like, I did buy a selection of chocolate and mince pies and things like that. But this week, we've just bought cheese, you know, and it was like, wow, the cheese that we're going to have is good quality cheese, and we'll indulge on a little bit of cheese rather than the biscuits and the cakes and all our jazz.
What's your favourite cheese, Lee?
I like a strong cheese. So we bought from the Mouse House. I think they got a vintage cheddar double size cloth wrap thing. So we got that there ready. But it's another one of my changing tastes since keto. I'm sure of it. I tried back in the summer a blue cheese, a Welsh blue cheese, and I would never touch a blue cheese. I go, oh, it's got mold in it. It's gone off. Wouldn't touch it. I tried it and I loved it. My other half, on the other hand,
Harrogate Blue. Harrogate Blue is very nice.
I love it because I'm saying that that's what I need for Christmas. And she said, you can have it, but don't come near me. So, but it's my tastes have changed. I think we were saying about cheeses. I'm enjoying flavors more than I was pre-keto. Before, I think, we were eating a wide variety of foods in our eyes, but suddenly we're discovering flavors again. We're using a lot of spices. We're using a lot of herbs. And those things before would have been, if they were here, sitting in the cupboard until they had gone off date and they'd be gone again with hardly being used. So I'm interested in flavour a lot more, and we're having things go, we're enjoying this, we're enjoying that. Things I would never have eaten courgette, and goat's cheese.
Isn't there something that, Tracy, you still hide? Wasn't there something? There's been something that you used to cook and you used to hide something in it, and you were like, "He won't."
Oh, no!
I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, is this something spicy?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Lee is he does not like lamb.
No.
But when I make the kebab recipe, it's lamb. So I say to Lee, it's spicy meat. So he does eat lamb now.
Did you not know that, Leah? Have I just? Oh no.
He does. He's joking.
I was going to say, I'm sure he would know by now.
No. I like that, but I'll have bits of it, but it's still not my favourite flavour of all time. If it's masked with something else, it's okay. But if it's lamb, no, it doesn't do anything for me. I've tried to enjoy the lamb curries and things like that, and I just can't eat it. It's just one of those things.
The spicy meat kebab, you like that?
I like the spicy meat kebab, yes, dear.
Kebabs are nice. Yeah.
They are nice. They're very good.
So, Lee, are you a fan of sending cards like your wife?
No, she's the one that does all that. She's the sentimental one. I usually come up with an idea. She's thinking, what can I do for this? What can I do for that? I'd say, oh, have you thought about this? Or have you thought about that? Or I'll Google something. I'll say, look at this on you. And she'll go, oh, I'll get that. It's things like that. But no, she's usually the one that's got to remind me about birthdays and Christmas and anniversaries.
And is that a Christmas tree I see behind?
It is.
And it's not. I haven't got glasses on because I've broken them.
It's not decorated yet.
It's not decorated yet. No.
No, I'll wait for the good lady wife. It is.
It's up to see how the Moggies take to it.
Okay. And how have they been so far?
Okay, so far. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Tracy, I've noticed that the cats haven't come around Lee when he's on the computer.
No.
Why is that just you?
It's just Lily. Whenever I buy the computer, she jumps up. I think she just likes the computer. What can I say? But clearly not now, as we can see.
In fact, little Lily hasn't been seen this evening yet, I think, since I've been in. So Carnage has been in, our other little furry friend. Speaking of furry friends, yes.
Coming through.
He's doing an impression of me.
I was going to say, isn't that what you normally do?
It is, yeah. I know. But no, the cats aren't around this evening. I'll be chasing them down after we finish this, probably. But
so, where do you see your journey going, Lee, out of curiosity? Do you think... Do you think...
Oh, bless
I was
him. He
just
probably
thought that-
misses his mum.
Oh,
Yeah, it was like,
oh. So do you think this lifestyle is sustainable, Lee? It's a
Yes.
dark question,
Yeah,
but... you know,
I think for us, I was speaking about you here as well. I think it's very much sustainable. I think it's an easier way of eating. I think price-wise, I know we're all worried about money and things like that at the moment. I think it can be cheaper if you shop smart. You can, and you bulk cook. I mean, Tracy's very good at bulk cooking, as the Sunday mornings have been showing lately when she's been doing things like that. And that works well for us. Okay, we're a bit pushed for room in the freezer at the moment, but once the new year's out of the
New
way,
freezer.
we just had one a couple of years ago. So I think it's a good way of living, and I wouldn't want to change it any other way. I wouldn't, but it works well for me. The funny thing is, food-wise, go away.
he's messing around.
I know.
I couldn't...
The funny thing is, since I changed the way I ate and I returned to work following the lockdowns, I suddenly went from having packed lunches as well, which are very bread heavy. It would be a bread roll, it'd be a couple of sandwiches, it would be sausage rolls, it would be that sort of thing. With okay, I had a piece of fruit in it, but I had to have a biscuit, which is usually something chocolate coated as well. Now they thought it funny at the start, and my head teacher thought it weird. He said, "Well, aren't you having anything else for your dinner? Because I'd be there, I'd be opening a deli pack of meat with some cheese, and that would be it, and a bottle of water, and that would be my lunch." And nowadays, that's usually about 12:30 lunchtime. That's the first thing I've eaten since about 7 o'clock the following night, or the preceding night, you know. So, but I don't feel hungry. I come in, I'm ready to go. Before, I would have had to have breakfast because I know before I got to work, I'd be on the floor with my blood sugars. I don't have that anymore. So we're buying less perishable food like breads, things like that. We're buying less sugary foods, so that's doing us good. We're not having them in the house, even for the children, as much anymore. So, as to shopping smart, I think we're doing that very well nowadays. You know, and there's always things here to eat. I'm not afraid now. No, a year, 2 years ago, I would have been sitting in front of the TV, packet of crisps. It would have been a bar of chocolate, and I would have had that, but I would have been accounted for it with insulin, or I wouldn't have accounted for it with insulin, saying, "Oh, it's a snack, I can't be bothered." Suddenly, before bed, my blood would be 18 or 19, my blood sugar rate. Now, I'll check them a bit later on, and it'll probably be about 6.2, which is for me is great. I know we say a lot about a lot of type 2s with these things. They like saying, "Oh, my bloods are in this range or that range." They run a lot lower than me, but as a type 1, type 1s need to run a little bit higher. We do. I keep saying we're like an engine. We like to run hot because we're supercharged a little bit. So for me, between the level of about 5 and 9 is my safe zone. So anything in that green zone is brilliant for me. And now sit there, we'll have cheese, like Tracy said, we got for Christmas. That's going to be our go-to snack at Christmas. I don't think we're going to sit there with an entire wheel each, just munching away on it. But it's a lot better way to be, and I'm happier doing it. I am. But well-being wise, Tracy touched on it, saying about how we feel now when you go through the, call it a process of changing the way we're eating. 'Cause I don't like calling it a diet. They say in work, well, are you still on that diet? And I go, it's not diet. I'm eating differently. That's all I'm doing. I'm making better choices about my food.
I am sorry, Lee. I was having a similar conversation with my colleague today at work. They were talking about they can't wait for the roast potatoes and everything like that. And they were like, "Well, Gemma, what do you do?" And I said, "Oh, I probably will roast some celeriac." And they're like, "Oh, what? Can't you just have one or two? It's not going to hurt, is it?" And I went, it's like think of me, the way that I'm eating, like a vegetarian. You wouldn't say to a vegetarian, "Oh, just have a sausage. It's not going to hurt you." My lifestyle is I don't eat potatoes, pasta, rice, stuff like that. So I hope that where we're, like you were talking about earlier, where people are becoming more aware that actually where you see on a menu vegan, vegetarian, I hope in the future we'll have a little K for keto or low carb as well.
I love that comment then,
Oh,
Jim.
I've just seen that, yeah, from
What was that? I
Miriam.
missed that.
Really interesting to
I'll
hear.
put it
Oh,
up. Yeah. Look, will you
You put it
stop
up,
playing
please.
about? I'm trying to put it up.
There you go. Really interesting to hear Lee talk about his experiences. Longest I've listened to a man talking sense for quite a while.
I'll take that as a win.
I can tell everybody, after 30 years with, plus with this lovely soulmate of mine, he's got more energy now than when we were first together. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, we don't need to know. Good God. She's dragging it down the gutter
Lowering the
already.
tone. I know.
Yeah, I was going to say excellent, Tracy.
Common.
And I'm
That's
sure
right,
when you go back next week, you will experience some of that energy. We're nearly at time. We're nearly at time, Lee. Do any of you ladies have any other questions for Lee at all?
Yeah, get a room. Get a room.
Okay,
Yeah.
but get a room. I just think, considering Lee, I'm known in the group for talking for Wales. I think you the most talk guest we've had on, actually, because you've done more of the talking.
It's been brilliant. No, Lee, I was thinking earlier, you're very natural.
It's fab.
Yeah.
I think you should become a radio star or something like that. You're very natural.
Do a podcast. But it's something I love to talk about, and I'll talk to anyone about this because I feel that this lifestyle, this way of living, eating, thinking is perfect for a type 1. Take any type 1s who are going to be listening to this, please try and get some advice if you're interested. Don't just take my word for it. I've done this for a little while now, and it's working really, really well for me. Take advice. Have a look at type1keto.com. Look at Dr. Ian Lake's Twitter page. Get in touch with him because he's a lovely, lovely guy. He'll give anyone any time he's got. But this lifestyle is perfect for us. It is. And this is from a person here. I'll be 53 in 2 weeks. I'm healthier.
Sorry, were we all meant to go? No,
no. You're supposed to go. Really? No, I thought you were in your 20s. No, thank you.
Did I miss that?
Okay.
Oh, damn, sorry.
I know. No, let's try it again. From someone who's 53 in 2 weeks.
No way.
Yes, really. Christmas Eve
Never.
presents gratefully accepted. Right? But from someone who's done it all, I've done the injection.
Sorry.
Yeah. I've done the injections. When I was diagnosed, I used to have syringes. I kept in meths in little vases and things like that. I've done the whole lot of it. I've had injections after every meal I've had to eat in my life. Now, suddenly, since August, I got this little pump on my side. I only put that on every 3 days. And I got a little handset. I just program it what I'm eating, and it goes click, and then deet. And I'm saying I'm buffering, and I'm loaded, and I'm laughing. I'm living my life again. And I couldn't have done this just on the pump and the help from the hospital. I can do this now because my health is better, because I'm eating correctly. And this is the correct way for a type 1 such as me to eat. It makes it so easy. Why would anyone not want to make it easy for themselves? Because this is.
Brilliantly.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much. And the last thing that I would say is, Lee, thank you. You born again keto. You. Thank you for doing it. It's been brilliant.
Anytime. I've really, really enjoyed it.
Excellent. We will have you back again. Yeah. And Tracy, let's get on and try and get that doctor on here as well. That'd be brilliant.
message him. I'm sure he'd be happy to. He did say a few months back to me he'd be more than willing to do one. He'd fit into his schedule.
Brilliant.
Good. He's a lovely guy.
Excellent.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much. And Tracy Sue, thank you again. Enjoy your holidays, Trace.
Thank you.
Yeah,
And,
enjoy your holidays. Don't worry about me.
Well, I've given you a rest, love. So,
Oh, that's true. I've gone through the list of things she said I'm not allowed to say or talk about.
But have you done the tidying and the cleaning list yet?
Tidying, yeah. Funny enough, without Tracy being here, we don't have a messy kitchen. It's really weird.
Oh,
There you
yeah.
go, Trace. Brilliant. Well, thank you ever so much. Look at that, exactly 1 hour. Well done.
Ow.
And we'll speak to you all soon. Thank you for
Thank you
listening.
all. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.